Are you familiar with motion sensors, and in particular the passive infrared sensors, or PIR sensors as they're called? Now, if you're not familiar with PIR sensors, what they are is, for example, a little sensor that sits in, say, the corner of a room, and when someone walks in or out of the room, passes that infrared signal in the actual signal range, it triggers the actual motion going past the actual PIR sensor. Well, in this video, we're going to be looking at something called mmWave sensors. Now, these are more accurate sensors than PIR sensors in that they can also detect distance, say the closer you get to the sensor, or they can actually also detect where you are in the actual room. So whether, for example, you're in one corner of the room or you move into another corner of the room, they can detect that. So they are a lot more accurate than PIR sensors. Now, I've got some mmWave sensors here. Now, these were sent to me free of charge by a company called LinknLink. Now, there's been various videos already on the internet. However, I'd like to show you them in my video. Now, at the top here in the box, we have the temperature and humidity sensor plug-in. Now, this is a cable that goes into the actual sensor as an accessory. So this is an actual accessory which you can purchase separately. Now, in the first box here, we have the LinknLink eMotionPro, and then at the bottom box here, we have the LinknLink eMotionMax. Now, these are slightly different. So what we'll do in this video is we'll take a look inside these boxes. We'll go through the specifications and also the differences between these two sensors, and also look at the temperature and humidity sensor plugin as well. And then once we've taken a look and compared the two different versions, what we'll do is then I'll show you how to adopt them in the LinknLink app. And then in a future video, what we'll be doing is we'll get them also integrated into Home Assistant, as these are compatible with MQTT, which of course is an integration into Home Assistant. So these can also be paired into Home Assistant. However, you do have to add them into the LinknLink app first before you actually put them into Home Assistant. But they are powerful integrations, as you can set up automations and so on with them. For example, you can turn a light on when you move to one corner of the room, or approach the sensor in a certain range, say 1 meter or 2 meters, whichever. Anyway, we'll get started. Here we are with the boxes. As you can see, I've already opened them to make the unboxing process a bit easier and also a bit quicker, so that it doesn't get too boring. So with the temperature and humidity sensor, which is in this box, all you get in the box is a 2 meter cable. So this is 2 meters in length, and it has a USB-C plug at one end, and it also has a USB-A plug at the opposite end. Now, halfway through the cable, we have, well, to be fair and to be exact, it's probably about 6 inches from the end of the USB-C plug. We have the actual sensor itself. Now, this is just a plastic strip with small recessed holes, so a grid type system on it with small holes on either side, and that's to pick up the temperature and humidity readings in the room where the actual mmWave motion sensor is placed. Now, this USB-C end goes into the actual back, so the underneath of the sensor, and you plug that in there, and then the USB-A end goes into the power source. So it works on 5 volts, and these sensors are rated at 2 amps. So you would have this accessory in place of the actual power lead that you get with the mmWave sensor. So if you don't want the temperature and humidity sensor, you can just ignore that and use the actual sensor on its own as well. So for LinknLink eMotionPro, which is this box here, you get the actual sensor itself. Now, these are, I would say, dome shaped. Now, these are very lightweight sensors. At the front, you get a plastic which you can actually peel off. So that's just to stop the surface getting scratched, as it's a high gloss surface on the actual sensor itself. On the rear of the sensor you get a recessed groove there where you would put the cable through, so that's just to recess for the cable. You also get a USB-C socket, so the cable which is supplied. Now this is a 1 meter cable you get. I wish they'd have been probably 2 meters, would have been a bit more useful, to be honest, in some circumstances, but they decided to do 1 meter cables for their reasons. Now all you do is connect the USB-C end, plug it into the sensor, route the cable through the groove in the back, and then the USB-A plug would go into a USB socket on a power source. So it needs to run on 5 volts and 2 amps. So whichever USB-C adapter you're using, it needs to be rated to at least 2 amps. And it needs to be rated, of course, at 5 volts. So it's USB power source. So in the box you get the actual 1 meter cable, as I've just explained. You get the actual sensor, and you also get the mounting bracket. Now this has 2 self-adhesive rubber discs on either side. As you can see, it's a 3M one on one side, and then it's an unbranded one on the other side. So these are foam pads. Now what you do is peel off the adhesive backing on this, and then it would be stuck to the rear of the sensor like so, and then you would pull the bracket apart, and inside the bracket it has 2 sort of arms or legs, whichever you like to refer to them as, and these can be angled and moved slightly so that you can position the actual sensor at whatever angle you wish. Now these brackets are fairly lightweight. Now they do seem to be a bit flimsy, however I don't think they are at all. They're just plastic because of the lightweightness of the actual mmWave sensor itself. Because those being lightweight, they don't need to have a heavy bracket, and to be honest, if the bracket was too heavy then it would probably pull it away from the wall or the sensor itself. So I can see why they've designed the bracket like they have done. So that goes to the back of the sensor, and then that would go onto the wall. So using self-adhesive padding, which you peel off the backing for, which I've said, and then you place that, say, in the corner of a room, which would be the ideal scenario. Without being in the corner, you could actually place it in the centre of the wall as well. But it all depends on how your setup is. So you also get in the box the quick setup guide, and to be honest, I haven't needed to refer to this. It's so easy to set them up, but it is actually useful probably just to have a quick read of this anyway, just in case there's any specific things you need to know. You get the plastic bag, so the sensor is actually in a plastic bag, and I believe this is recycled plastic, as it feels like it's made of the recycled material. And the box, all you get is the small cardboard box, which is square shaped, and then you get the panel which the cable sits underneath. So that just folds in, and then the sensor is on top with the quick start guide on top of that. So for the eMotionMax, it's identical. So the box is actually identical, apart from, of course, the label on it. You get the same mounting bracket, you get the same 1 meter USB-A to USB-C cable, and you get the same sensor. Now these sensors look identical, apart from the actual labelling on them at the back, which tells you which model sensor it is. So they're identical with the packaging. So what we'll do now is go through the variances or differences between these 2 models, so that it helps you decide which model you want to purchase or which one you might need. So we'll bring up the specs on the screen now, and then I'll talk you through those, and then what we'll do is get it adopted into the app. In particular, I've already adopted the eMotionPro here, so that's already been adopted into the app. So what we'll be doing is adopting the eMotionMax into the app. So here's the comparison. Now as you can see, I've made a table with the differences between the 2. So here we have the prices for the eMotionPro and also the eMotionMax. So for the pricing, the eMotionPro is priced at around $25 US, which equates to around £31 here in the UK, or it also equates to about €42. For the eMotionMax, it equates to US dollars of around $40, and for the GB pounds here in the UK, it works out about £46. For the euros, it works out about €57. So that's for the eMotionMax. Now, personally, I think I would probably use the eMotionMax myself, but it all depends on what your installation is and what you want to do with the actual sensor. So they were both released in April 2025. The form factor for both of them, as you know, and as I've shown you, is both round, so it's identical for the form factor. The power input for both of them is 5 volts at 2 amps. Now they both need USB-C power cables, which they have with them, or rather USB-C to USB-A cables. The accessory with them is the adhesive foldable stand. So that's the actual mounting option, which I've shown you. So the mounting bracket, the flip angle for both is between 80 and 45 degrees, so it can be folded in or out. They both require Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz, so they don't support 5 gigahertz, they need Wi-Fi 2.4, and that's both models. However, for the radar frequency, the eMotionPro is at 24 gigahertz and the eMotionMax is at 60 gigahertz. The detection range for the eMotionPro is up to between 6 and 7 meters, and for the eMotionMax it's between 4 and 5 meters as the maximum distance detection range. They both support presence detection, so that's detection when somebody is in the room or out the room, and they also, for the eMotionPro, it also supports distance detection. Now this is what I was saying. For example, with the eMotionPro, if someone is within 1 meter of the sensor, it will be able to detect that, or 2 meters or 3 meters and so on. So that's why it's showing as distance detection. Of course, for the eMotionMax, it doesn't support distance detection. It actually supports where you are in the room. So that's why it's showing no for distance detection for the eMotionMax. The zone detection for the eMotionPro is 2-dimensional, hence why it's going 1, 2, 3 and 4 meters for the detection range. And for the eMotionMax, it is 3D detection, hence why I've said you can detect where you are in the actual room. For location tracking, the eMotionPro doesn't support location tracking, but the eMotionMax does. So that's the location of where you are in the room. They both support anti-interference and they both support infrared control. So what that means is you can actually program it, say, to actually use it as an infrared remote control. So what you would do is use it as a learning function. So your existing remote control, you'd have to program each of the buttons on your existing remote control, zap them to the eMotion sensor, and then it would learn that infrared function. They both have brightness sensors in them, so they detect the light levels in the room. And for the temperature and humidity plug-in cable, as I've said, they both support this. However, it is sold separately, and which I've explained and shown you. They all work with Alexa, Hey Google, Siri, and also Home Assistant via MQTT. Now, they don't work with Matter, but they do have a version that does work with Matter, and I believe it's the eMotion Ultra. So now for the special features, the distance detection accuracy for the eMotionPro is up to 0.1 meters. And for the customizable zones, both of them, so the eMotionPro and Max, you can set up 4 zones. However, for the eMotionPro, the 4 zones is based on distance, say 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters and so on. But for the eMotionMax, it's based on 4 zones in a precise area. So you would have 4 squares, for example. For the approaching, leaving and still detection, so you can actually set up automations based on that for the eMotionPro, but for the eMotionMax, it's based on automations in the actual zones, so where you're detected. They both support brightness levels of 3 levels, so the detection brightness is for 3 levels. The infrared remote control has full angle detection, and that's for both models. The motion state detection is for leaving, approaching, still, clear, not detected for the eMotionPro, but for the eMotionMax, it's based on where you are in the actual room. The brightness detection is based on lux values, so the value of lux in the room, and which is in the app as well, so it shows you the lux value in the app. The number of persons in detection range for the eMotionPro, it doesn't support that, but with the eMotionMax it can support up to a maximum of 4 persons in the detection range. So hopefully that gives you an idea and a better understanding of what the differences is between the eMotionPro and eMotionMax. So what we'll do next is I will load up the app, which I've already downloaded from my usual app store, and I'm using an Android Samsung tablet. So we'll go into the app and I'll show you how to adopt the eMotionMax. So you'll see that I've already got the LinknLink app installed. So we'll just open it up and then it brings you into the eMotion app, where you'll see we've already got the eMotionPro, which is what I mentioned that I've already installed. And in the eMotionPro, it has the presence detection and also the brightness detection. So these are sub-sensors, what they call sub-sensors or secondary sensors in the eMotionPro. Now with this, you need to make sure that Bluetooth and also location tracking is enabled, and that you're also connected to a 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi network and not the 5 GHz Wi-Fi network should you have one. So to add the eMotionMax, I've already connected the USB cable, so it's powered on. And to add the device, what we need to do is click the plus in the top right corner. Then we need to select add device, and then with the add device screen you need to select add a new device. So it's going to add a Wi-Fi device such as a hub, sensor, etc. Then it will take you into the second screen. So we've got E-series hubs and sensors, gateways or other Wi-Fi devices. So what we're going to do is select E-series hubs and sensors. Then in the next screen you'll see we've got radar presence sensor, radar motion sensor, temperature, RF hub and so on. So what we're going to do is select radar presence sensor. So that's the eMotionPro, Max and Ultra. Then you'll see it's asking us to power up the device, which we've already done. So we can click next and then select done. And then it should try to add the device into the LinknLink app. So it's saying can't connect to device Bluetooth. So what we'll do is select retry and select done. And then it's now connected. So it's asking us to connect the Wi-Fi network. So what we're going to do is click this line here with the arrow, and then it should appear with our Wi-Fi network shortly. So we've got the QWN7665L. So that's my 2.4 Wi-Fi network. So select this, and then it's already got the password in. So it's remembered that from the previous when we added the eMotionPro. So we'll select connect now. And now it's saying phone is connected to Wi-Fi, sending setup commands to device. Now device is connecting to Wi-Fi, verifying device info on cloud. So we'll just wait for this procedure to finish and it should add the eMotionMax into the LinknLink app. And there we go, the device is set up, and now it's asking us to select a room where the device is. So for this testing purpose, we'll select it as bedroom and select next, and then it's asking you to name the device. So for this purpose, we'll call it eMotionMax 3 and select save, and then you'll see it's done. So we can click on use device now, and you will see that it's now detected a sub device. So what we'll select is add now. Again, select the bedroom, select next, and you'll see that it's now selected the sub device, which is the presence sensor in the actual eMotionMax. So we'll select save, and then it's asking us to select a zone. So at the moment it's selected as present, so we'll just select save, and then we've got tips for using sub device eMotionMax. So we'll select I know it, and then select use device now. So now it's giving you the installation guide where you peel off the protective plastic strip or ring around the actual rubber on the back of the sensor, and about placing the motion sensor in the ideal position. So we'll just go through those. Confirm installation, and then you'll see we've got motion detected. So I'm actually in the same room as the sensor at the moment. So you'll see we've got motion trajectory tracking. So you can enable that. So here you'll see we've got the motion trajectory. So it can tell whereabouts you are in the room. So we scroll down and you'll see we've got one person detected. So it is actually knowing who is in the room and how many people. And here you can set it into different zones. For example, if you approach, say, the sensor within 1 meter, you can set that, for example, as zone 1. So you can set up the unoccupied detection time. So if nothing's detected for 1 minute, then it knows you've moved out of the room, for example. You can set the armed notification, interference, sensitivity, and detection height, and so on. So we'll go back, and here you'll see we've got the eMotionMax 3. So we've got the dark. So we click on this, for example, and it's asking us to select a room where the device is. Next, and then give it a name. So this is the brightness sensor in the eMotionMax. So we'll click save, and then I know it, and then use device now, and then you'll see it's got brightness detection in there. So what it's doing is detecting the amount of lux, so the brightness measurement in LUX, which is lux. So we can go back, and then motion detection. You'll see we've got motion detected. So that is me in the room, of course, and it's telling you whereabouts I am in the room. So for example, that is actually correct. I am at this side of the room, as it were. So I'm actually here at this side of the room. So we can go back with the arrow and then go back, and you'll see we've got now the list from the home screen of the eMotionPro and its 2 sub-sensors, and also the eMotionMax with its also sub-sensors. So it's saying person detected. So if we click on this, for example, and then detected, you can have the detection history here. So it shows you a table there, or a graph of the timeline when the person was detected in the room, and that's added the eMotionMax to the LinknLink app. So it's fairly easy to do, straightforward. It didn't take too long, really, to be honest. So we can go back to the home screen, and here, for example, if you wanted to add more sensors, now LinknLink do various other sensors as well. So you could actually add any of those devices. So smart services, for example, add virtual services to live scenes such as virtual buttons, home security, and so on. So you could actually use one of these sensors as a home security device. So if anyone was detected entering your home, then you could actually trigger an alarm notification, I guess via Home Assistant or the actual app itself. So you get, say, a notification pop up on your mobile phone or whatever. That will do it for this video, I think. Now that we've added the device to the app, we've got it paired up, ready. So what we can do in the next video is I'll show you how to add them into Home Assistant using MQTT. So I hope you liked this video and hope you found it useful. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.